Good morning, everyone. And we've got another day of lockdown and another lockdown live. This morning, I'm going to be chatting to someone I've wanted to chat to for quite some time. A very busy man, so I've been lucky to get hold of him, especially now in these times that people really can't go anywhere. I'm going to be chatting to Roger Machin from Canon South Africa. And Roger's been with Canon for quite some time. And I'm going to chat a little bit to him about his history with Canon and all those kind of things. So it's going to be a nice chat that will go where it goes. Let's see what's going to come from it. I've started a new Facebook page, as mentioned yesterday, Lockdown Live with Dewald Kirsten. I will post a link in the bottom after the video, and I really hope you guys can like it. I'm repurposing these videos onto that platform, hopefully the next day or later that same day, so you can go in and listen to it at your own leisure, and you don't need to do it live. Same with here on YouTube as well. But live, I hope you guys come in and ask some questions. So, right, let's get Roger on. Hello.
Hi there, how you doing?
All right, and you, Roger?
Good, thank you.
Are you keeping well in these trying times?
Staying home, staying safe, trying the absolute utmost. It's a bit finicky with 4 kids in the house, and two of them are officially on holiday, and 2 of them are officially still at school. So it's difficult.
Yeah, I've got two young ones and a baby, so it is challenging for everyone.
I can believe.
Yeah. So how is a busy guy, and I really appreciate it for you to come onto the chat. And I've wanted to chat with you for a long time, and now we've got the opportunity to do so.
Well, thanks for the invite. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah. And I know that you are very busy in general with Canon. How has this whole thing affected how busy you are normally?
Well, it's interesting because a lot of my busy times are about planning events and putting events together and going to talk to pro photographers and my office stuff is a lot more sort of admin based, and it's all about sort of paying bills and doing stats and analysis and preparing training presentations and things like that. So my office kind of work hasn't really changed so much, other than sort of multiplying excessively. I'm doing a lot more training for internal staff, a lot more presentations for internal and external use. But my fun stuff, which is out on the road talking to pros and doing events and things like that, that's the only thing that's actually changed. So I'm doing a lot more admin, which is not lacquer. I'll say that quite bluntly.
Roger, I think a question I've had for some time is, what is your history? Where do you come from? Where did you grow up? How did you?
Oh wow. Okay, no stress. I was born in the UK originally. I came out here when I was about sort of 3 years old. So I've been accused of being a SOTI my entire life, but I am actually proper South African. 3 years in England and 40 odd years in South Africa makes me a proper South African. The only thing is, my head office is in London, and because I'm there sort of, 3 times a year, and I'm on the phone with them sort of daily, my English accent pretty much never went away. So I don't really have a South African accent. So I've only ever been to school in this country. I went to the Air Force in this country. I studied aerial photography in the Air Force as a way of getting out of national service, the 2 years national service. I decided to do 4 years of permanent force, which was a bit mull, but it was fun. You know, as I say, I studied aviation and aerial photography through the Air Force, which was pretty cool. And then at one stage, I finished. I qualified. I got all my qualifications in the Air Force, and then they decided to send me on a permanent posting to Petersburg. And my girlfriend at the time was living in Joburg, and she was like, "Yeah, no, you're not going to Petersburg." So I climbed out of the SAF, and then I went into photographic retail, and worked in a camera shop for a couple of years. Didn't like that. Worked as a pro photographer, freelanced for a couple of years. Got a bit irritated with that. There was working as a pro photographer in this country is tough as nails, and I have the utmost respect for all of you guys who do that. And this is in the film era, before internet, and it was just about lots and lots of dog work. I mean, it was putting your name out there and handing out business cards, putting flyers up in camera shops. That was what we did, but it got to me, doing 4 weddings a weekend, Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, and then Monday running to the lab, processing, printing, Tuesday putting photos in albums, Wednesday delivering off and trying to get your check, Thursday phoning people for the next weekend, Friday buying film, Saturday, Sunday shooting. It was a 7-day week. It's and my wife at the time just said no. So I got kind of bored, and I've seen this with a lot of photographers as well. You get to a point where your production line, you stand in front of a wedding group and you say, okay, the bride stays here, the groom stays there, let's have the mother-in-law out and the father-in-law come in, click. All right, you out, you two in, click. You two out, those 3 in, click. All right, let's go over there. Okay, let's get the flower shot. Let's get the sunset shot. Let's get the kiss with the little starburst. Click, click, click. And I got bored. I got completely nutty bored and irritated with doing the same thing. And then there was a while when business dried up, and it was about 3 months with no work. And again, driven by the wife, she was like, get a job, damn it. We need security. We need to be able to pay the bills. And that's the hardest thing. You can't take a home loan. You can't do hire purchase on a car if you don't have a fixed salary. And I would earn like 60,000 a month for 2 months, and then nothing for 4 months. And you go to a bank and say, I need a loan, and they say, like, how much do you earn on a monthly basis? Like, I don't know. It could be good, it could be bad, and nobody gives you a loan. So so then I started in back in sort of not necessarily photographic retail, but import export sort of side of things. I worked for some AV companies for a while, doing data projectors and sound systems. And then I got the job offer at Canon, which turned out to be really, really, really cool. And I started just doing sort of technical support, helpline stuff, and then moved into product specialist, moved into product management, and where I am at the moment, which is product marketing manager. Started just doing South Africa. Now I do the whole of sub-Saharan territories. Some countries have come and gone, but I still handle from Angola across to Mauritius, essentially. My job now is a lot less admin, a lot more just sort of solid standard marketing. So it's a lot more cool now. Let's give it that. So I give you a bit of background.
Yeah, that's in a nutshell, that's pretty cool. And it's strange how the old, I wouldn't say you're an old timer, but people that's come through the range of film and everything, that there was a lot of photography that the government offered as permanent jobs in the old regime. Like I spoke to Ian Fleming yesterday, and he was a photographer for ESCOM. So that's quite interesting. That's something I didn't know used to be available. Yeah,
well, this is the thing. In the national service, my posting was to Sevensai in Kimberley, and when I came out of high school, it was like, I don't want to do infantry in freaking Kimberley of all places. It was bizarre. And I'd been a school photographer, and I'd loved photography at school. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to combine my love of aviation and my love of photography and go and study aviation photography. Doing permanent force is a lot more easy than doing a national service. They know you want to be there, and they pay you, and they pay you for your studies. So it was an absolute pleasure. And as I say, I wouldn't say it was an absolute pleasure. I still did basics, still did the proper army stuff, and being English, even though I spoke Afrikaans fluently. I mean, I did matric in this country, so and I got away for the first 10 days in basic training, convincing my corporal that I didn't speak a word of Afrikaans. And it was fun while we're drilling. You go linksom, and I would actually have to force my brain not to turn left with everybody else, and deliberately take a few steps. And I'd force my very, very Afrikaans corporal to say left turn, and it was so hard for him that when he said left turn, the other 29 guys in my squad were actually not turning left because they were waiting for linksom. So it was quite kind of funny. And then he called me in one day and he said, I've been looking through your file, and it shows you, here's your matric certificate that says Afrikaans higher grade B. Nou gaan jy kak, troep. And I did not speak another word of English for the next 3 months. It was fun. But yeah. But you're right. The government in this country actually, to in a great degree, actually still offered and still offers, photographic opportunities. You've seen Quinton on the lockdown photography group. I mean, he used to shoot for Paratus, which was the military, the army side of the magazine sort of side of things, and the photography on that side.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people in this with this background.
Well, that's very interesting, and I think that's where a lot of discipline comes from for the older photographers, where you got that army discipline part of it, plus the work ethic and everything. Now it's all, but 10,000 followers on Instagram, you're a rock star, and then people book you.
Yeah. No, I get that. The discipline to a certain degree is a factor, but even more importantly is the fully and understandable way of being able to do things the laziest, easiest way possible. I know this for a fact that bizarrely enough, I've actually got in the Canon South Africa photographic department. There's about 6 of us who are ex-South African Air Force, which is kind of hysterical. There's at least 3 of the guys I used to work with, and I knew when I was in the Air Force. So I don't know how it came about. It just happened that the whole bunch of us that are ex-SAF, but we all happen to know photography well, and all of us have a background in film. And I find that the majority of photographers, as you say, the Instagrammers of this world, who have massive followers and think they're famous, who've never had an understanding of film, never had an understanding of the process involved in taking a photograph and not seeing the results for, a minimum of 2 days, for example. The instantaneousness of modern photography has changed things dramatically. And yeah, a lot of people think they're great photographers. I'm not going to mention any names because that's just dangerous. But just because you have thousands of followers on Instagram doesn't necessarily mean you're great. And Quinton's quite good at mentioning that as well in presentations, where he'll put a photograph up and he'll say, just because this got 60, 70,000 likes means it's a great picture. Yeah. But
also they might be photographers and have a really good social understanding and how all those kind of things work. But if you put them in a situation where they need to think on their feet and sort out a lot of problems in one specific go, then I wonder how many of them will be able to do that.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it is a good call. But what I will say to you is, of the photographers I've met in this country, so many of the people I've met are so much more nimble and able to think on their feet and able to chop and change than photographers I've met overseas, bizarrely enough. Please, bear in mind, I've traveled to about sort of 28 different countries with Canon, and I've been to photographic events all over the world, essentially, and spoken to photographers all over the world. And there's a weird thing in America. I've seen it particularly. There's a culture of entitlement, where the photographers started with the so I use your brand, what are you going to do for me kind of story. what's in it for me. And that culture of entitlement started spreading around the world a little bit. And I noticed South African guys weren't on that same sort of method. They tried to jump that bit a while back, but it kind of got stopped. And I found South African photographers are very versatile. And as I said, a lot of the people I've met, you look at people like Justin Derrick, an aviation photographer of note, and his airplane work is sublime. It's absolutely surreal. I would rate him as probably the best aviation photographer in South Africa. But have you seen his weddings? You must see him do weddings. They're absolutely stunning. At the end of the day, South African photographers have been forced to be very versatile and do an enormous mixture of stuff. I've seen your pictures, the studio shots with the flower and all of that kind of story. Then I see stuff where you've been traveling, and I'm like, okay, you could do lots of stuff. Then I can see wildlife. Then I see this, and it's I've not seen a single photographer in South Africa who only does one thing and that thing only. There's a lot of people who specialize in something and they do that one thing well. But if you look at the presentations that have been on Quinton's page from the local photographers, the enormity of what these guys can cover means that they are very, very, very skilled at adapting and doing different stuff,
Yeah, well, that also comes with experience. And I spoke about it yesterday with Ian as well, is that you must have a passion for photography. If you don't, if the camera is not the first thing you pack in when you go away for the weekend, or you only take a camera out to go shoot a wedding, then I think there's something wrong with your passion and why you're doing it. I know a lot of photographers. They will literally only take the camera bag out when they arrive at the wedding, and they will pack it away. And Sunday they will the cards, and the only time they touch the camera is next weekend again for the next wedding.
Yeah.
And I'm not like that. If I can shoot whatever, I'm just happy. I do photography because it's like an extension of who I am.
Wonderful.
So yeah, and I really hope there's more people that become like that, and don't just do a paycheck at the end of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've tried to spread pretty much the same sort of message amongst other photographers as well. And I see a lot of working photographers who do Monday to Friday, whether it's studio shooting, whether it's portraits, whether it's wedding, whether it's wildlife, whatever it is. And then when it's their off time, Saturday, Sunday, they don't touch a camera, and that's just not done because it's work. And you get to the point of, hang on a second, why did you start working as a pro photographer originally? Because you love taking photographs. And if you find you're a working photographer and you've lost the love of taking pictures, you need to do something to recover that. And as I say, I've seen it with a couple of people. Quinton is a primary example. I needed a story for a magazine called, somebody asked me to do a story called Fish Out of Water. A fish out of water essentially is take somebody and put them into an environment where they're completely and utterly out of their depth. Now here's Quinton, who shoots babies, portraits, weddings, everything's controlled lighting, everything. He tells the model to turn a millimeter to the left and lift her chin, click, takes a photograph, sets up the light, sets up the flash. Everything is controlled. And I took him to do bird photography, and the guy was nuts. I gave him I think it was an 80D with 100-400, and I said, "Come, we're going to go take some pictures of the birds." And it is like, why don't they sit still? Okay, we need to go around the other side so the lighting is on the bird. And like, by the time you get there, that bird is gone. And it drove him nuts. And eventually he spent so much time trying to get it right and trying to control the uncontrollable. He actually realized he was having a lot of fun doing it. And as I say, he's one of the primary examples. I've got another guy who shoots only stills, and I forced him to do video for a weekend. And he just changed his entire mentality completely. He was petrified of it. And once you force somebody into doing something, it's like, okay, the concepts are exactly the same. Aperture on photo and aperture on video, same thing. White balance, same thing. Shutter speed, same thing. The only thing you have to really understand is how video works in terms of frame rates. Holding the camera still is equally important. You don't just because it's a moving subject doesn't mean you've got a moving camera. And I think one of the things, the best lessons, and the one lesson I try and teach a lot of pros like yourself, like Quentin, like the guys that I spend time with, is try and recover the love, the reason why you became a working photographer in the first place. And once you love photography again, it'll improve everything you do as a working photographer, but you will still have a lot of fun on the weekend.
Yeah, that is so true. And one of the things that I can say is, you touched on the video subject now, is that if photographers don't step out of it and make video a part of the service they offer, they are going to start falling in the lee side. There will always be a gap or a market for still images only. But if you can start offering to your clients exactly the same thing, if you can offer them both services, it's going to put you in the next level.
Well, absolutely, and you can see that social media has driven that. At the end of the day, back when Facebook first started, it was just a stream of text, and you just saw text messages. Then they added photos, and photos were fantastic. But if you've got a newsfeed like I've had in the past, I mean, I've trimmed down my friends group on Facebook on a massive scale, because I had to make it more personal, less work orientated. But at one stage, I had about 30 wildlife photographers in my friends list. And you get a stream of, okay, it's a leopard, it's a cheetah, it's a zebra, it's a leopard, it's a cheetah, a zebra, and your entire newsfeed becomes completely and utterly the same thing over and over and over again. Stuff disappears. All of a sudden, there's animation or a GIF or a video clip where it's not just a photo, it's a line turning its head towards the camera. And that's where you stop, and it's arresting you. And this is where Facebook and then subsequently Instagram cottoned onto the idea of the advertising that used to be just like a little banner ad is now a moving picture or an animation. And as bandwidth got better, as internet connectivity got better, videos became something that auto-played. You and I both remember the time when your Vodacom bill was so high that you turned video play off automatically. You had to turn it off. Now it's on all the time. We don't even think twice about it. And YouTube being the fastest growing social media network globally, that animal is just so unbelievably scary. And you're right. If you're a photographer only doing stills, you're gonna slow down and slow down and slow down. Video is definitely the future, and the more you learn, the quicker you learn, the better off you'll be.
And it's becoming so much easier. Like I've got my R. This thing is like you press two buttons and you're shooting video. So what happens is, you're on a shoot for a client, and then, or even what I do when I do stock, not necessarily stock stuff, I will shoot stuff for clients, but they want stills, and I see something that I could possibly use as a stock video that I can sell on the internet. I'll flip it over and shoot like 15-20 seconds of stock footage and just carry on what I'm doing. What I have found with myself, and I'm not sure about other guys, is that if I'm doing a shoot for a client and I'm there to shoot stills, or I'm there to shoot video, once I'm in a video mindset, I forget about shooting stills, and other way around. So if a client booked me to shoot stills, I would be in the stills mindset, and I will forget to shoot video, even if it's for myself.
Oh, I can believe that. I must admit, I find myself in exactly the same boat. But you're right. I mean, if you're a stills photographer and you're in Kruger, for example, there's nothing stopping you from getting that still shot in the bag and then hitting roll on that video for a 30, 20 seconds, whatever it is. If you've got the opportunity, by all means, shoot it. And I know a filmmaker in Cape Town, a guy called Glenn Thomas, and I've worked with him on a variety of different projects. And he shoots predominantly video for stock. And the most laughable thing, his one video clip that's been downloaded and paid for more than anything else. So we're talking like over 1 million downloads. Is a bathroom shot. It's a white basin with white tiles and a silver tap, and the tap is dripping. And it's a 30-second close-up shot of a tap dripping, and it's ungraded. So he's deliberately sort of set the it's as low contrast, low brightness, low everything, low saturation, low everything, and it's 30 seconds long of a tap dripping. And he's had that video clip downloaded like over 1 million times at like 22 US cents per download. It's nothing, but in the greater scheme of things, 1 million downloads. Hello, that does count a bit.
If it's an HD, you should get about $20 per download on average. So I've got the same. I was on a shoot, and we were shooting in a vineyard, and they had the sprinkler system going, or the drippers in the vineyard going. I took a 15-second video clip of the drops running down the pipe and dripping at the vine, at the grapevine. And that thing has sold over the last year probably 10, 15, 20 times on stock. That particular, it didn't cost me one single cent to set up. I didn't take anything longer than I should have doing the work that I was busy doing. So, and that thing was just sitting there in the background earning money every now and again.
Yeah, nothing wrong with it. And as I say, sometimes you're looking for opportunities, even though there's no opportunities there. As I say, I met a guy who did a video clip of some yellow flowers blowing in the wind with green grass and purple flowers in the background, blue sky, white clouds. And he said it's been used in washing powder commercials across the world like 30, 40, 50 times. You kind of laugh at it, but it's like, it's a 20, 30-second clip, yellow flowers blowing in the wind, blue sky. It seems ridiculous, but sometimes the most mundane, the smallest, cheapest things just work,
Okay, right. On another question I've got for you is that, okay, I know that normally when you go to London, there's some products that you guys are discussing and all the new stuff coming up and all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Of which we know that there's a lot of amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, my question I've got for you is, what is being said in those board meetings when you arrive there, and Canon Rumors has just posted all the specs for the new camera nobody's supposed to know of? What does the bosses say at that particular moment?
Well, it's interesting because it is something that's kind of a major factor for us internally. The internal security level, we have code names for products, we have password protections on absolutely every single email that we send that contains product information. There's no discussions over public forums, for example, about new products, etc. We all sign a very, very, very intense non-disclosure agreement document that carries a fine of €50,000, believe it or not, for deliberate or inadvertent / accidental leaking of information. So if I, for example, print out a document on the new camera that's coming and I leave it on my desk, and somebody brings a visitor into the office and the visitor walks past my desk, picks that up and puts it in his pocket, because it's my product, I'll get the blame, and as I say, it carries a €50,000 fine. Having said that, the rules are a little bit looser in various places around the world. The Far East traditionally has been very, 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 very bad at leaking information, making mistakes. Every time there's a mistake made, we find the source of it, we understand what's happened, and we try and shut it down. It is a career limiting move for anybody who does it deliberately. And as I say, mistakes do make. One of our European countries, an employee who was in the circle that says he's allowed to access the information, left the company to go work at a competitor, but the IT department didn't revoke his access to the intranet, and he still logged on a week after he left the company, logged onto the company's intranet. It wasn't suspicious activity on the IT department, and he got all the sales feeds for the new products a day before. And of course, there's a fair amount of money to be paid for these kind of things. The guys at Canon Rumors will pay for valid stuff, and products were leaked. Canon China made a mistake at one stage by setting up a web page, so it wasn't linkable. So if you go to a product list and you type in EOS 6D, you'll find the EOS 6D. But they'd created the page for 6D Mark II, for example, but it wasn't linkable. So you couldn't, if you went to the product page and looked for the product list, you didn't see 6D2. But if you went to canon.co.ch or whatever it is, /product/EOS 6D2, you actually went to the page was there. It had been created. And believe it or not, a whole bunch of Americans and a whole bunch of people around the world do this all the time. They go to every single Canon page, Canon Australia, Canon South Africa, and they go product /5D Mark IV, 5D Mark V, 5D Mark VI, and all that cuck, in the hopes that somewhere along the line there is going to be somebody who's made a mistake. You laugh, but it happens. And we take it very, very, very seriously. We have an internal security department that manages security on a regular basis. And when it comes to new product information, when leaks do go out, we find the source. And it is difficult for us in a European organization because Canon's divided into three zones globally. So we have Canon Inc. in Japan, who handles the Far East and Australia. So that vertical zone. We have Canon USA that handles North, Central, and South America, and Canon Europe that handles Europe, Middle East, Africa. So three vertical time zones. It makes no sense for us to report to USA because they're 6 hours ahead or 6 hours behind. You know what I'm saying? So Europe, at the very least, the most we're 2 hours different in time zones. So if the leak happens in America, and we have to bear the brunt of it. At the end of the day, when people come to us and say, "Oh, tell me about the new," it's already leaked. I have to pretend like I don't know anything because I genuinely am not allowed to say a damn thing. I cannot confirm or deny anything that happens on Canon rumors. It is kind of brutal, whether it's true, whether it's not. We do laugh because in some cases they state things as 100% true and they are, well, 50% not. And as I say, it is downright irritating for us. It's hard work, but again, the problem is, as much as we want to keep things tight and close to ourselves, it is a global organization. And Canon USA, for example, their biggest customer, Best Buy. Best Buy's got 17,000 branches in 3,000 cities, I think it is, which is huge. It's stupendous. They need to have a product listed on their system before they can start selling it. They need to have the product description and all of the barcoded and all that kind of story weeks before it's ready. And normally in the sort of week before the product is actually announced, they will have to have it on their internal system, so all the different stores can put in a forecast, put in a prediction of how many they're going to sell, how many they're going to order, so that we can go back to the factory and actually sell them to produce. We think we're going to sell XYZ quantity, but if we have a customer, our biggest customer globally, who tells us exactly how much they're going to buy, what an absolute pleasure. It makes our life a lot easier. Yes. But the problem is, Best Buy in downtown suburb of Wisconsin, in whatever arse end of America, there's a young employee who's just had his salary docked for coming in stoned on a Saturday morning, and he looks at the information that's on the internal website that says here's the new Canon coming on Tuesday. He gets $100 if he flogs that information to canonrumors.com. Yeah. This is the problem. As it's a global organization, and the internet is a wonderful thing, and it's a terrible thing simultaneously. But we keep trying.
A lot of photographers follow Canon rumors, and I do as well. And from what I've probably followed them for about 3 or 4 years now, if not longer. Yeah. One of the things that they didn't get was the EOS R. That was a surprise to them, and I can just imagine the level of security and promises. It's like a naughty child that you say to them, if this happens, this is going to be the consequences. So that was well.
The EOS R was a monster. I have to tell you, I had to sign a new non-disclosure for the EOS R only, and I'm sat for a month and a half, 1.5 meters away from my colleague Aubrey. And I wasn't allowed to tell him because he hadn't signed the NDA. At one stage, the two biggest, most secret things we've ever had. Number one was the EOS C300, the cinema camera. I signed a non-disclosure. It was only myself, my immediate boss, and our CEO who knew about it up until 3 days before the announcement. Then I was able to tell my sales team. So EOS Cinema was a massive thing for that. And EOS R, I think there was about 4 people in our local South Africa organization who knew about it. About 3 months before it came along. Even I found out at the end of June for a product that it was announced in September. Yes. So just as an example, I have a very good indication about I know what's going to happen between now and the end of 2020, and I have a slight insight into 2021. But right now, I know everything that's coming and when it's coming from now to the end of this year. So, that information is pretty damn impressive as it is. But as I say, EOS R, I found out 2 months beforehand, and that was kind of, wow, you bastards! You didn't tell me either. When you find you're not in a circle of trust, you're like, hang on a second, what the hell? But fortunately, now I know I'm in that circle of trust. So yeah,
these things are amazing. So on that, when things are coming, the R5. Is there huge delays with the COVID-19 thing or not?
At this stage, I can't say for definite. The only thing that we can say is due to major events having to be cancelled and postponed, a lot of our original plans have changed. So the R5 is definitely coming. As I say, we've done 2 technical announcements, development announcements as far as that product's concerned. It is in a testing phase at the moment. As you know, I have one. I'm testing a specific function on it, which is unique to this country. I can't say anything further than that. But when it does finally hit the market, the images that you'll see linked to it will have my name attached, not only in South Africa, but also in Europe and America, and to indicate a specific thing about, I've got to stop now. But at this stage, nothing has been officially announced in terms of the date or any delays on the dates. There may well be, due to the fact that there's no point pushing a product right now at pro photographers when nobody's working. It's one of the hardest things for us to sit back as a company. We're very fortunate. We have a very stable organization. We have very good cash flow management and very good financial management within Canon globally. And what it essentially means is that we can go through situations like this and not be in deep financial trouble, which may well have an impact on the smaller brands of this world. And I don't want to mention actual names, but damn well, the SLR and mirrorless brand that's number 4, 5, or 6 are going to really, really struggle to weather the storm. The big brands, Canon, Nikon, Sony, Panasonic, for example, we're probably going to be okay. We have a very, very good balance sheet as Canon. Our current CEO, a guy called Fujio Mitarai, managed the company's finances and managed the company's debts about 25, 30 years ago. And he put the company in a situation where we said, hang on a second, we can't be permanently in the red and permanently in the black and owing people. We can't build a new factory unless we can pay for the new factory up front. We can't borrow money to build a factory and hopefully pay for itself after a year. So he's a very, very, very smart leader. And as I say, he's somebody that I have an enormous amount of respect for. And what he did as far as the turnaround for Canon was massive. So we have closed some factories. We have closed some offices in the Far East, mostly about safety of workers, number one, or number two, about availability of parts and components coming from China. So where we manufacture the overwhelming majority of our products in Japan, all of our lenses, for example, come out of one factory in Utsunomiya, just north of Tokyo. All of the lenses are all made in a single place, but the glass will then be shipped to the Philippines or Taiwan or mainland China for assembly into a barrel where the bits and pieces come from various places. So things like the standard kit lenses, the 1855s and the 55-200s and the 75-300s, those are manufactured on such a huge volume that we can't do it in Japan. They have to go to China and they have to go to Taiwan to be made. But like the Pro, the L series lenses are all made in in autonomy all at once, a single place. But if we need spare parts that have to come from China, or like a microchip or a resistor or a processing IC or whatever it is that has to come out of a factory in China, and we can't get it, it'll stop the production of an entire product. Sure. So so some of our factories closed for about 12, 14 days till we could get workarounds, and majority of them are back up and running at the moment. All of our facilities, like Canon South Africa, for example, we moved completely to a working from home environment. Our current CEO in South Africa invested in 20 new laptops, 20 laser printers, 20 internet connections for admin staff who are critical for processing of invoices. There are still products that Canon makes that are listed as essential items, most notably ink for printers and printers themselves. For home office, for homeschooling environments, the government's decided to declare printers and ink still as essential items. Well, so, yeah, it's a good idea. It's not something that we want to capitalize on, but at the end of the day, kids are still doing school projects. My youngsters are still printing out stuff here at home, and printing it in a book, scanning it as a PDF and sending it to the teacher. It's still something that has to be done. So home printing is definitely a thing, and you'll still be able to buy printers and ink, etc., mostly online from the big Game, Dion, Macro, etc., Take-A-Lot, etc. So that side of our business, we still need to be able to invoice. Our warehouse is still open. Our warehouse is still delivering. Fortunately, all of our camera dealers, all of our photo shops are closed. So Orms, Outdoor Photo, Cameras, Cameraland, all of those guys have closed. And I get that. It has to be. It's a non-essential item. But we're also in a situation where we don't want to be seen to be trying to push photographers to buy right now, because we know damn well you guys are freaking hurting. You're hurting big time. I spoke to a mate of mine who is a pro photographer, and he said to me, I don't know what to do. He said, I've got 1,000 Rand in the bank to last me 6 weeks. He said, I've got to feed my kids. So if my wife wasn't working, we'd be in deep cock. And I get that. So at this stage, we're trying to do things like this, and things like what Quentin's doing with the Lockdown Photography Group. Just sharing info, upskilling, helping photographers wherever we can in terms of just learn a new skill or try something out. Don't get rusty. Don't forget about adding something else to your arsenal. Now's the time to actually try and upskill, stay at home, stay safe, learn something new, so that when you come out of the lockdown, you're ready to shoot and go wild. And it's a hard thing to wrap your head around. The greatest scheme of things that we worry about the death of photography is photography dying. Our smartphone's going to kill photography. Are people going to buy less images from photography, from photographers? And I urge you to watch. I posted it on my Facebook page this week. It's a BBC documentary called "The Age of the Image." And within sort of 20 minutes of the first episode, my eyes were opened again to the fact that, hang on, there's never been a more important time in the world for images than right now. And don't for 1 second get despondent about coming out of your lockdown and having no work. Trust me, the demand for images will never stop. And right now, as I say, watch that documentary. It'll encourage you again to believe quite firmly in what you're doing as photographers and how important it is.
Yeah, I'm gonna get that link and post it in the description below as well. It's that with the advertise, this cell phone is going to change photography forever. That's a lot of bullshit. It will never happen. It can't. You cannot get the same quality as you get out of a APS-C sensor or a full frame or a medium format sensor. It will just never ever happen.
Well, I wouldn't say never. Put it this way: the advent of the smartphone changed things dramatically, purely because of the sheer processing power of the phone. What you're holding in your hand, is 1,000 times more powerful than the computer that took the people to the moon, 70 years ago. I get that, the clincher here is that the camera became secondary to the actual image. So the sensor is minute, the lens is absolutely tiny, but the sheer overwhelming processing power of that computer chip and the software and all the applications that were built into smartphones meant that the quality you could deliver out of a shoddy source was actually more than acceptable when viewed on a phone or even on a laptop screen or via Facebook, which is 1 and 2 million pixels. You cannot produce an image for an ad campaign on a billboard from a phone. I get that, because 90% of the photograph is actually in the computer. Only 10% or 20% is coming from the camera itself. Having said that, and we fought against it for so long. How much we hated cell phones and they're not cameras. We even made this plastic covers for smartphones that said, this is my phone, it is not, my camera is a Canon, something like that. And it was a really cool, aggressive campaign, etc., etc. At the end of the day, we had to take a step back and understand smartphones for what they are. They are the first step of the new generation into photography. It's the camera you have with you all the time. You take photographs with it all the time. And as pro photographers, we will use it only for little happy snaps around the family or the cup of coffee we're having in the coffee shop. We will never use it as a proper photographic tool. I get that. But you've got to remember that the overwhelming majority of kids coming out of school these days, that's all they actually know is a camera. The camera is an Apple or a Huawei or a Samsung or whatever it is. That is a camera. And we have to, A, understand that, B, bear with that, and C, nurture that. When I say nurture that is, we can't just knock them all the time and say, your photographs are crap, they've been taken on a phone. You have to say, okay, well, you've got skill there, but you need to learn about composition. You need to learn about how to use f-stop to blur the background, not Photoshop's Gaussian blur filter. You have to learn about high dynamic range by taking 3 images rather than letting the software process it. And encourage the fact that the phone will teach you about photography to a certain point, but after that, you now have to invest either in a compact camera or a bridge camera or mirrorless or SLR. Long term, if you find that you have a skill and you find you have an eye, you find you have an understanding of the moment or perspective or composition, whatever it is, by all means, please use that as your step into photography.
Like you said, I did to document things happening around me. So I've done a couple of images now, and while I was I had to go to the hospital the other day with my wife quickly, and I took pictures of like a ventilator, because I know that there's a shortage of ventilator images on the stock sites. And I saw now that the images were rejected on Shutterstock for noise and all sorts of stuff. So I'm going to download them and run them through Lightroom and noise reduction and upload them again and see where that goes. There is a shortage of the image, so and this is what this is all they're getting, so they must use it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, for absolute ages, I used to. At one stage, I was posting pictures on my Facebook from my iPhone. It always says taken on an iPhone, and the amount of comments I would get, "Oh, do you not make cameras?" And eventually, I then started carrying a PowerShot. I still carry a PowerShot day in day out. The G7X is my absolute baby camera. I love it to pieces, purely because it's tiny. It's got a 1.8 lens, and it allows me to shoot RAW, and I've got full manual. That's what else do you want? And of course, that became my camera of choice. And I shoot with it, and I take decent pictures, Wi-Fi it to the phone, and then upload to Facebook. Then it doesn't say shot on an iPhone, and then people go like, "Okay, what did you do?" "Oh, it's my G7X, as always, G7X." And I got to the point where people stopped actually worrying, And now I put more pictures up with the iPhone than I do with the G7. Purely out of convenience, and I know the quality is not there, and I know I know what it is. But if it's something that's happening right now in front of me, and it's important for me to share, I'll use whatever the device is at hand. The other big problem that I have is 90% of what I'm shooting right now, I can't show you for the next XYZ amount of time, because what I'm shooting with right now doesn't technically exist yet. Yeah, sad but true. And in some situations, I have to shoot RAW and JPEG for the first 4 or 5 months of a new camera, specifically so I can look at the JPEGs on the computer, and I've got the RAWs so I can process them later.
Yes.
Because I don't, we only get the software a long time after we actually get the pre-production products, and
software companies
yeah,
are not a place to leak it from.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so I can't even post the JPEGs from this camera on Facebook, because the amount of times people will read the EXIF tag of the images you post and go, oh, so you're using a brand new having a millimeter lens. You're like, shit. I've learned my lesson. We've all learned our lessons long term. So it's about obeying the rules, about doing what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do. The R5 is announced. It is known that the R5 is in the hands of Canon people to test and shoot with. There's also some glass that's been announced as a development that I might happen to have in my possession as well. On the Thursday, the day of lockdown, I did a little drive past a freighting company at OR Tambo, and literally an hour after the box had come off an aeroplane, I had it in my hands. There's still 3 boxes sitting at OR Tambo in a warehouse with stuff that I should be playing with now that I can't, because they were unable to deliver after lockdown. So it's a bit devastating to know that there's something less than 10 kilometers away from where I am that I would love to play with but can't.
Yeah, it's one of those unfortunate things. We would also love to play with those things, but we also can't.
Yeah.
And probably we're coming up on an hour, and I know that you've got a very good relationship with photographers via Facebook and the road shows and all these kind of things. Has any of the other brands tried to poach you yet?
No. I would actually be quite amused if they did try, but I think it's been quite well known for quite a long time that my blood runs red, mate. So it's not yellow, it's not blue, it's not green. It's proper Canon Pantone 186C coated red. That's the color of my blood. If I ever do leave Canon, the odds of me going to a competitor is kind of slim indeed. And as I say, I think that's pretty much a known entity within the industry. I don't think I would have any confidence or any credibility telling everybody this week how great Canon is, and next week all of a sudden, I was wrong for the last 20 years. This brand is actually better. I think, given what I've seen of this brand, and working for Canon for over 20 years now, I know that when we make cock-ups, we fix them up. Things like the 1D Mark III autofocus issue, it was sorted. That was back in 2009. That was an issue, and it was sorted. We might be late to the mirrorless game, but when we do it right. And having a window onto the future of what Canon's thinking, what Canon's planning, I know for a fact that I've backed the right brand from the get-go. A lot of other companies, a lot of other brands might come and go, but these guys, yes, we're going to be around for a very, very long time. The fact that we've never disinvested in South Africa, other companies like Sony, Panasonic, etc., who've come and gone during difficult economic times or difficult political times, for example. We've stuck around. We've been here. We've invested in the country. We've stayed with the country, and it gives you a lot more hope and a lot more confidence in the brand when you see them doing things like that. And I hope to, through my position, through what I do, inspire that little bit of confidence in the photographers who have invested with Canon. And the amount of people who've stood in front of me and poked fingers in my face saying, like, when the hell is Canon going to catch up with Sony? And I have to go, well, seriously, just bait fast. But we're not just going to catch up, dude. We're leapfrogging, mate. And R5 is the best example.
Yeah, no, I think that's going to be a complete game changer. Have you, because I know it's also something that people speculate about. Are you allowed to mention a price point or not?
At this stage, no. It's not a known entity. We have a general ballpark for when we do budgets and things like that. But unfortunately, with the global economic situation and the exchange rate at the moment, no, there's no ways I can actually even hint or imply anything, because I guarantee by Tuesday next week it's different.
Okay.
All I'm going to say is wait and see. Once we're closer to the time, once it is actually announced and start shipping, then you'll know. But stash your pennies, please, because it's not going to be cheap. It is going to be the world's cheapest 8K video camera. I'll give you that.
Yeah, I might have to sell one of my kids to afford.
I know. And again, this is yet another reason why we're not pushing hard right now. We know damn well you guys are struggling, and right now we're just upskilling. And when things clear up, when the world comes right, and it will do, and it'll do sooner than we actually think. You know, with our 3 weeks of lockdown anniversaries today, you know, we should be back at work today. Granted, the government's added 2 weeks. I get that, and it's a safety measure, and it's clever. I have an immense amount of respect for Mr. Ramaphosa, who's done everything right in the light of the stupidity of other presidents around the world. I'm not going to mention any names, but we all know who we're talking about. Our guy has done everything right. Yeah. It's flying by. 3 weeks have gone. My God, how the hell, you know?
I posted on Facebook this morning. I'm not a big fan of Donald Trump, but man, he's got a pair of balls and he's not scared to show them.
Okay, then. Yeah, I'm going to leave that right there. I'm going to give you a comment.
Yeah. Roger, this has really been interesting, and I really appreciate for you to come on and have a chat to me about all these things.
Yeah, my pleasure, mate. Thank you very much for hosting this and letting me join in. As I say, I was going to use my camera, but as I say, it's not a great image right now. I'll just sort of show you that very quickly, so you can have a little bit of view. I'm quite casual, sitting on the lounge in the lounge armchair, relaxing, and you know, pictures on the wall behind me, as you can well imagine. But yeah, I'm not. No.
There was something standing on the desk that you wasn't allowed to show, or something like that.
Yeah, good point. Actually, let's just move the camera to the side just in case you saw something. Yeah, there is a bit of that kind of stuff going on. Yes.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome, Roger. Thank you so much, and all the best for what's coming. And I think everybody's sitting with bated breath about everything that's going to be happening in the next 6 months in terms of camera gear.
Absolutely, and again, please, guys, bait fuss. This will go. This will pass. And the good times will come back again. But as a pro photographer, as talking to pro photographers on a daily basis, invest in the time to learn, invest in the time to upskill yourself, and understand that we all come out of this, and we'll come out of this, and we'll be fine.
And get to know people, because
yeah,
that was my big thing starting this whole thing, is to get different people connected to each other. And it's not just photography. I'm speaking to some, hopefully tomorrow afternoon, I'm speaking to a French international rugby player. So that's going to be also be
cool.
Yeah, so that's what my whole idea is. So yeah, again, thank you. Have a great day, and
you too, mate.
We'll see you on social media.
Thanks for the call. Stay well, man.
Cheerio.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.